It's the OCGFAM show. Viewer questions with Scott Ostrander. Let's get started.
This is for real.
Seriously, because this may have to be next week now.
Hey there, Bob from Oregon's Constant Gardener. It's only 11:30. Welcome to the OCGFAM show. You started
This 9 minutes ago.
You, my YouTube buddy, what's going on? Let me know in the comments. We got to keep rolling. Space Cruise, good stuff, Bob. Thanks. I'm curious about using BK and veg. If I'm indoors and do a lot of LST, low stress training, right? We talked about this just 3 minutes ago, and I'm still struggling with it.
Third time.
Should I hold off BK until I have a general shape I want, or just jump in with it?
No, go ahead and use it. No, it's not like cracking. It's not going to harden off anything as long as your plants are accepting it. And I'm only fast forwarding this conversation because we've
talked about it for about 10 minutes, 3 minutes ago.
If you want the real answer, email me at thebeard@organsonly.com. But you're talking about generally the issue with cracking. When you start foliar feeding cracking, it kind of hardens off the plant, creates the structure faster. Chaos is not going to do that on its own, and even with the calcium uptake, it's only going to make it grow a little bit faster. So if anything, your LST will be a little bit quicker.
Okay, so it's like it gets harder, but it gets brittle with the cracking to some extent.
Well, the cracking just sits it down and then it builds those cells.
And it doesn't want to. It doesn't want to.
Yeah, it's no malleability. But with the chaos, it's such a fast growth. It makes the training quicker, and then once you get your set, then foliar feed with cracking a few times, and it helps get that shape.
I gotcha. Okay. David Cook, do you still have to flush when using one shot only?
Not so much of an issue because you're building up a super soil. You've got everything built into the soil. It's only releasing as the microbes are breaking it down, so it's releasing at a really slow rate. So the eventuality of a buildup of salts or pH issues generally aren't going to happen when you're using just amendment-only soils.
Because in theory, it's slowly dissipating.
Yeah.
But
so like doing a feed flush like you would with the bottle system, because we're putting so much in, anything that's excess that doesn't get absorbed, we want to get rid of that or tie it up. With one shot, it's releasing at such a slow rate that we're not trying to tie it up.
So I guess if you're doing the one shot, you would not do anything different with your watering regimen, or if you were doing teas or something like that different because you're using one shot. You would just water like if there was nothing in the soil, if you were just growing a plant in good soil, same kind of thing. So there's really not any issues with using just the one shot.
Yeah, no.
So what if you were using the one shot? Well, I know we got to keep rolling, but if you were doing if you were supplementing with a herc, could it build up? Do you need to be checking your soil and stuff like that if you're doing that? As far as
if you're just doing herc, I still wouldn't even care. I mean,
just go.
It's so mild and so little, it's not a big issue. But if you do find that you have a huge microbial population and everything's being consumed and you're releasing at a higher rate, you can kind of aid in reducing that available ppms by doing a herc watering. We're still not calling it a flush at that point. It's more of a just preventative
feeding.
It's just slowing down their consumption.
Okay. So it would be feeding them, but also kind of holding stuff up there to let it, Okay, see, that's good. Kevin O'Connell. Scott said foliar feeding calcium doesn't help because the point is to force the plant to draw from the soil. Does this contradict episode 212? Using Dr. Growth as a foliar with Yucca, Poseidon, and Photo Plus. So, Tim was on the show, and he believes, I don't say you would say opposite, but somewhat disagrees with he's got a different...
So out of all the foliar-fed elements and components you can give to a plant, calcium is by far the least efficient uptake through a foliage and through the stomata. It is too big, it's not mobile, so it's an immobile nutrient. Mm-hmm. What's in Trigger, whatever the hell that is, Dr.
Growth, yeah.
Dr. Growth is a calcium calcite that will be available to the plant in very minute amounts. I do disagree, I didn't contradict myself ever.
No, but this is an agree to disagree, or is this a disagree?
Well, this is, and he's not wrong.
Yeah.
There is an availability. Efficiently? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. Available to kind of help curb that issue? Certainly. The only reason why I really tell you this is because so many people want to run a synthetic nutrient base.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then they want to hit bloom chaos, and as long as they're foliar feeding a ton of calcium, that's natural, they're going to protect themselves. Yeah. And you're not. You're going to damage your plants greatly by not having the uptake in the plant. The whole point of bloom chaos isn't about calcium availability in the plant. It's building cells because of accelerated growth and energy the plant is receiving from the chaos and having it in the root zone to develop the cells from being brought up with the amino acids and the calcium to make more cells, it has to come from the root zone to be efficient for the plant to build.
So Scott Ostrander, would not use Bloom Chaos without using Herculean Harvest.
Or Demeters or Aphrodite. I mean, if I'm not using some form of liquid calcium in our line,
you would not.
Or I don't have a totally built soil with. I mean, I know what's in my soil. I know what's in One Shot. I know what's in our fertilizer package. So I've used Bloom Chaos many days without anything else put in, and then most times when I'm doing my nutrients. So they're not wrong. It's just don't rely on your foliar feeding calcium to do any kind of corrective, curative, fixing, or building of cells. It's just another product that goes in at a very mild, small amount.
And well, I remember when we did this episode with him, and he was talking about this as a small thing, not as
very
a
small.
Not as a big part of the thing. It was just a and this was
Part of
not
the
even
blend.
the main thrust of the talk. This was just a little bit of a minor point.
Well, and kind of helping them, because back then when that episode was aired, that was like, what, 800 episodes ago, was him teaching us about cultured products, and us being a calcium-based nutrient line, him marketing against our line with, this has the calcium that you need.
Yeah.
It's not the most efficient calcium as a foliar feed. Now, that as a root drench would be far more efficient for the calcium delivery. But as a protector of the plant, it's better as a foliar.
Well, and I would say also that Tim, while he may be right or wrong on some level or disagree or agree, he did a lot of growing with Nectar, with his stuff, and built this line to work with it, and did all that stuff, and had success in a growing actual plants.
Absolutely.
So while he may not have the words right, the intent was there, and he did it. He knows how to use this stuff to work with Nectar.
And I would use it as a foliar for the reason why they use it as a foliar, but I wouldn't be using it as my calcium corrective piece to the line.
So that's the
takeaway, is that we're not contradicting. It's just, if
grower beware.
If a new grower's watching this episode and said, "Oh shoot, I can use this as my calcium with Bloom Cast," you can't. It's not going to work. Okay. You need something in the root zone or a soil built with calcium to make sure you have available calcium. Does that help? It does not hurt one bit.
Good answer.
It's an answer.
Good answer. Okay. Rick McLeod. Hold on a second. No. Okay. Veg. When using BK as a foliar, should I bump up the Herc? Flower. So he's saying in veg, when using BK as a foliar, should I bump up the Herc? In flower, if I were to split up the Roman feeding regimen, would I use the BK with the half with the Herc? Love the show, Bob. So, first one, you're using the BK as a foliar.
I mean, genetic specific, environment specific, and were you not using Herc, or were you not? I mean, if you're using 4 tablespoons of Herc and veg, then probably don't need to bump it up.
If you're on the feeding regimen, you're probably good there. But what would you notice if you did need to bump up?
That claw, the tip, just the plants start stressing with the claw, or a twist.
That's when you. So when you
well,
see
that,
that,
a lot of times you'll see this new need for nutrition. The plants are hungry than what. I mean, when you see deficiencies, a lot of times when you apply chaos for the first time, you're going to see a lot of the hidden hungers that a plant has that you didn't know about, and it's going to express in a deficiency.
So you see a deficiency in one thing or another, and it's just that it's using so much of everything that it's actually topped out on that, whereas it would have had enough to limp by on it.
Yeah.
Okay. So now a lot of people do the Roman split.
Yeah.
Right? Where they do all like a Greek, and then the next day they do all the other stuff. If they're doing that, does it matter which day they do the Bloom Chaos on? And could they do it on both? Or
I mean, you probably could do it on both, and I just monitor it. But again, it's one of those where it's like, man, that's such a I would probably pick towards more of the baseline in the Herc, doing a chaos on the same day there, and then just running the additives on the next feeding. To play it safe, always do it on the same day or within 24 hours of a Herc feeding.
So, counterintuitively, when you're using the Roman, could you see more deficiencies because you're pushing stuff so hard? It seems like you have everything there. You should have no deficiencies. But can you know what I'm saying?
Well, a lot of times it's toxicity over...
too much.
And there's a fine line between deficient and toxic.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times people will come at, hey, I'm really nitrogen toxic. And say, well, doubt it. But let's do some luck. And then, we find out it's completely the opposite. And same, a lot of times we'll see that people think we're potassium deficient when we're actually potassium toxic.
So would you, if you do run into these things and you're no expert, you don't know what's going on, you would flush and back off?
Yeah, when in doubt, you hit them with a quick flush,
Yeah.
and then you kind of do a reset where you're like, okay, I'm going to start with the base again, and then start building it back up.
So you'd go back to probably a Greek, and then you would slowly add in nutrients.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't add all of them back in at a quarter strength. You would add 1 or 2 and then slowly work your way up, or would you?
Well, and then I'd really question why am I
doing
using these
that?
other things
If it's making it worse.
Yeah, well, that's it. Some genetics. I mean, I was talking to one of my favorite growers the other day, and he's like, "This one doesn't like to eat, and this will eat 4 times the amount."
Yeah.
So I cannot have the same recipe when I go in my room. This half of the room has to be fed in a different reservoir than this one because this one wants to eat 1,800 parts per million every feeding, and this one says over 900. I'm pissed.
And just the same with using more different bottles as opposed to using just the simple stuff. I got you.
And often, I mean, there's one grower on the East Coast in Michigan area, Gromer, who is a Thug Pug Genetics, and I found he was able to get a screenshot of one of their basic recipe, and it is just start to finish the exact same recipe. The only thing he changes is the herc, and that only changes by 100 mils per 5 gallons. And I'm just like, and then you look at what he puts out and on his IG account and what his, grower buddies have from his genetics, and it's shocking at how well. So I'm going, this line is a custom.
Works for what you
can customize it to your need, your grow, your plant, your garden, your environment. There is no recipe. And I mean, there's just no recipe. You have to create your own. Somebody just posted on one of those Nectar groups a dual feeding chart, like the Roman with everything that's printed on our Roman charts, and then right below it, the Roman chart empty. So here's your guideline, and here's your grow. Create your own damn grow, because this guideline, you're saying you're 100 of my growers, and that is telling me that your average is literally down the dead center. That's what you're going to grow on. It's a great reference, but honestly, play with them and use these empty charts to be able to do that.
So, would you start with a Spartan or would you start with Herc? If you were coming from...
Like, I would definitely start... Well, I like knowing what I know.
Yeah.
Sorry. Knowing what I know... What was the question?
Would you, if you were starting from scratch, would you start with just Herc or would you start with a Spartan?
I mean, knowing what I know, I would start with what we offer in that sample kit because I do...
Which is kind of a semi-Greek type thing. The Demeters and the Athenas, right? Is it? No. Afra? Is it Athenas? It's Afra.
Athenas, Demeters, Zeus,
Yeah.
Herc, Medusa, Gaia.
Yeah.
That's the six. I mean, it's a grow a bloom, Medusa, Gaia.
Yeah.
You got Zeus, your catalyst.
Mm-hmm.
You got Herc as your bloom enhancement, bloom food.
Mm-hmm.
Demeters is your calcium and your chelator.
Mm-hmm.
Get your mag from that.
Mm-hmm.
And Athenas is your amino acid. So you got all the calcium and amino acids you need to build every cell, and all the base grow and all the base bloom food you need for general nutrition.
If you couldn't get Nectar, I'm going off the list. I'm sorry. If you couldn't get Nectar soil, what would you use as far as, if you had to mix your soil, what would you mix your soil, and then what would you use with it?
It's tough.
Cocoa and some...
I would use a good quality peat moss, a good quality cocoa fiber, and perlite.
Okay.
And then go
and
from
then
there.
You would use
the mycorrhiza and,
Yeah, and then you would, and then you would do probably the Greek...
The sample kit.
Sample kit.
Yeah, just shy Greek, which would take out Kraken, Aphrodites, and there's something else in there.
Yeah.
But, so right between advanced and simple.
And you'd be there, and you've got pretty much everything. And then the other things you would add sparingly for fun.
And it's
not
just
because
like
you have a
genetics,
deficiency, but because you're trying to figure out what might make it better.
Push something, or enhance a terpene, or some genetics like fish over cow, some like
And
it just comes down to pay attention to your grow.
Okay, good answer. Good answer. Michael Sears. Would a final flush of... I don't know if it's a good question or not, but I see this question a fair amount.
Yeah.
Would a final flush of BK help the plant to use up any residual nutrients left in the soil before ripening?
I know people who do it and say it's their difference between, X and Y weight. So we've heard it does more for weight, if anything, but I've had other people tell me it makes their taste turn. because they all of a sudden pumped in a bunch of protein and nitrogen and things they didn't want up in the plant at the very end.
So I guess there's a few things that you would like, when all these questions we get, there's a few things where you would be like, no, do not do that. Like, do not have your pH at
no, this isn't a 9. No, this is like, what's your preference? You can do it, people do it.
Yeah.
I mean, some people are religious about it because they say that's like the snap to the end where they get the best trichome production, they get the best flavor. Some guys are like, it makes my shit taste bad.
Do you, if you were, if you had 4 plants, would you be pretty much always messing with one, like something like this, trying different things like that?
Well, that's what I've done for 20 years.
Yeah,
so I tried.
You've got your system, and then you've got your experiments, and this is something you could do as an experiment to see if it worked for you personally.
Yep.
I got you. Okay. Good answer. You're killing it. See, it's the deadline. It's the deadline that's getting you.
It's a bad show.
11:50. Yeah, it's not one of our best, but you never know. When we have some bad ones, sometimes it's like, remember that time you were mad at me? We had a great show. I was mad at you too. I'll admit it now. I was mad at you.
For what?
I don't know. I don't remember, but I remember it was a tense before meeting, and then we did the show, and it turned out great. It was kind of like, you ever seen that Top Gear? Those guys hate each other. And so it's hilarious.
They don't hate each other.
No, I love you dearly. But we have some spats from time to time, I think. Because, I'm emotional and you're mercurial.
So mark this as one of the last episodes. Remember when? I think it was that
they went to a straight format right after that. It looked like the news the next show.
Yeah. It was about 26 minutes in.
Oh, Michael Scott. No, that's Michelle Scott. Michelle. Could be Michelle, or it could be Michelle.
Michael Scott customer.
Yeah. Hello there. I was wondering if I could use Epsom salts at the same time as other nectar for the gods' nutrients.
You just add it into the solution?
Yeah.
I mean, you could, but...
Well, there's a lot of people, I think, that feel like they've got... they want that magnesium in there.
Well, there's plants that are definitely... I mean, and I've seen... There's some genetics that clearly are way more mag-hungry than we were ready to... That's why we kind of cater to... Or not cater to, we promote cutting edge in their mag-amp.
Yeah.
Is because there are some genetics that just need it. And if you need to put the Epsom salt in, you don't need a lot of magnesium.
Yeah.
And the Epsom salt will release quite a bit. So I like top dressing with it, because then every time you water, you're releasing it in, creating that constant buffer where if you put, I just think you're going to overdo it as a...
Well, I guess what they're asking, I bet you both of us could use more magnesium, but I don't know that most of our plants could use more magnesium.
No.
It's not something you'd roll with. It wouldn't be your recipe. It would be
we're
when you
actually
see
working
something.
on a product now, because it has become a thing with genetics that there's quite a few that are very, very hungry for mag.
Do you think that's a thing that's changed over time? Genetics are wildly changing.
Wow, when you breed shit, what happens?
Well, because we have an open field now, where we did not in the past.
And everybody's a breeder now, so we're not stabilizing things. We're not crossing back, going for just these perfect functions of these plants can do.
Yeah,
we're just creating fun little names.
Frankenstein,
literally, and then they're not stable. They start to drift. There's a lot of them. There's some good breeders out there. There's no question, and there's some amazing stable genetics.
Yeah.
But we're seeing more and more as this becomes a more and more open market. Way more drift in genetics.
Do you, just your opinion, do you think that something that's mag hungry is maybe not a great genetic?
No, not necessarily, because I've
seen some that are.
Because usually you're not going in with a magnesium nitrate. If you're going with a magnesium sulfate, now you're putting a sulfur element to that magnesium element, which is creating a giant terpene profile. So that's why I like Epsom salt or nanotech Epsom salt, which is basically mag-amp, soluble form of it.
Yeah.
But that sulfate on the mag is giving you the mag you need. That's dragging in the sulfur that the plant will enhance the terpene with, and you get really...
So it can be a good thing.
Well, that's what we're playing with, is creating basically a terpene sauce, in a sense, where if you have a mag issue, this will be your mag replacement. It'll be, we're aiming for like a 1.5 to 2% magnesium, so you don't need much. But it's going to cure these guys that have the marginal yellowing and weird
But may even be beneficial to some guy that didn't know he needed MAD.
But yeah, if you have, you just never know when you're going to get that industry's genetic. So.
Okay. Good answer.
But yeah, if you top dress it, you'll just be just as effective, and it's a nice,
Safer.
long-lasting product. So, and it's cheap.
Jeff Walters. When using one shot, how much one shot gets used up when adding Bloom Chaos during regular feeding? I like the 3-to-1 ratio of Herc to Bloom Chaos, just needing to know if I need to top dress more if I use more BK at that rate. Thanks, fellas. So is he saying that he's using one shot for his primary feeding of his plants, but he's hitting it with some Herc also, and he's using Bloom Chaos? That's not a bad strategy, right? I mean,
your big thing to monitor. I have no way of answering how much one shot is getting used up by using BK because I don't know, but.
Was that
that's
a strategy?
The process. Anybody who's using a water-only, one-shot based soil, and that's all they want to do, but want to use BK, I highly encourage you to get a liquid calcium.
Yeah.
And then going really, really mild with the Chaos, because not only does it show you you're lacking calcium, it shows you you're lacking every food source in the root zone. If you just plant in brand new number 4 soil and you add in your own one shot in, and then hit them with Bloom Chaos, none of that calcium and none of that nutrition is soluble and available to the plant. So you'll show hunger immediately.
So, because your one shot may have what you need, but it can't get it up the plant fast enough.
It's still a giant ball. Yeah. It has to turn into diarrhea for the plant to absorb before.
Would even doing some sort of microbial is still not going to get you there over
days 1 through 3.
Yeah,
and it is microbial. Once you water it, they're germinating and going, but you still got to give them time to actually start digesting.
But hitting it harder with teas or that sort of thing would speed up that process somewhat, but probably not to the point where. So if you're using BK, but he says he's using BK and Herc in addition to his one shot.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so you're getting a balance and a backup from the one shot, but the Herc is saving you.
So, but he's doing. I guess what he's asking is he's doing 3-to-1. Is the 3-to-1 Herc to Bloom getting him what he needs without digging into the one shot?
Does your plant look fine?
Good question.
That's it. If your plant looks like this, then it's probably not enough. But if your plants are like this, you're good.
How do you know if it's too much? You don't.
Well, then you see.
You're
too much what? Too much Herc?
Too much Herc.
Oh, well.
It's just going to lie. It's not matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I've never. It's
Good luck with that.
You just paved the parking lot is what you did. That's what you've created is a nice rock-hard soil. If you use too much.
You will know.
Yeah, you won't be draining a lot.
Because you have a pickaxe to get it. Yeah. Okay. Freddie B. Does anyone use BK with super soil mixes? Any luck? See, this is kind of related to the other one. So, can you imagine any kind of scenario? What?
See above.
Oh.
Rewind, listen again.
But can you imagine any scenario where you did not use Herc but did use Bloom Chaos?
You can try. That's it. Is if your plants are... Again, I'm not a geneticist. I can't create these genes. However, I know guys that use Bloom Chaos in super soils only, and they just do it really mild, and they have no problems. But, again, if you try that and you torch your plants, you did it too hard, too fast, and you just wanted to try. There's just no answer to it. There's a good chance that you'll probably eat all the food out of your soil faster if you use Chaos without a liquid form of calcium.
It's not a no, and if you had some sort of reason you wanted to do super soil and not do Herc, you could try, but it would probably be a lot easier to do this scenario with Herc unless you have some
You might want to have a bottle of Herc on the shelf in case this thing goes sideways. You can then at least react to it.
And you would use Herc, not Demeters or any of the others in this scenario.
For
that situation, okay. Red State Rebels. Hey, Bob. I have well water, 7.9 pH. Do I pH it first or after I add my food and bring it back up? Don't know the ppms. He does not know the ppms of the water. So who knows what the ppms are? But it's 7.9. But that should. If you could get down to 6.8 without using any Olympus, but you put everything else in and you were down to 6.8 from 7.9, would you just go or would you try to drop this down?
I would try. Well,
is it going to creep on you?
It's going to creep on you. And that's why I like because he started almost at 8 pH water. So I would start it down to like 6.5.
Yeah.
And then mix my nutrients and then use it. Because I've talked to I have one grower in northern Oregon that after he mixes everything up, it's 6.5. It's perfect.
Yeah. But
his finished product is just not. It's not where he wants it. Because he's like, and like us, our Olympus Up, we call it a pH up for the sake of marketing and branding. It's a food source.
Yeah.
I mean, we want that calcium. And so when he was saying is that when he doesn't add that calcium in, he's missing out on the quality in his fruit. But when he adds it back in, all his quality comes back.
So you want to have the Olympus just for its own benefit, but also would you say that you're less likely to get creep in your pH from using some Olympus Up over just having high pH water?
Oh, you definitely will, because that Hades down is reacting to the limestone that's in the water, neutralizing it so it can't turn into a product in your soil that's going to slowly create your pH swings.
So it seems to me that whatever limestone is in that water is far more available than what is in that rocky stuff that's in the Olympus Up bottle. I mean, it's going to be more effective in raising pH.
Well, if it's
isn't it?
never reacted, it's going to be...
Yeah.
It's a parts per million that's sitting there as a solid form.
Well, but it's... You know, when you say, I'm layman talking about this, you got a bottle of Olympus Up, it is some thick stuff.
Well, that's a gum and a gel.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's stuff we add so it doesn't race through and go nowhere.
I gotcha.
Again, everything we do, we're designed to feed a microbe by sticking it to your medium so the microbe wants to eat it. If it was all liquid, it goes right in and finds dry channels and washes away.
Learn something new every day.
But yeah, high pH water is tricky because it will. I mean, I have one guy right now who has a high pH water, but it's rainwater, so it has no reactivity to it.
It's just good water.
Yeah, 5 parts per million. So when he puts that, I mean, his truncheon doesn't even turn on when he puts it in there. The downfall is that there's nothing in there that creates that high pH other than it's neutral because it's been in the air. Once you add anything to it, crashes down to nothing. And so then he's finding that he's building up these residual acidic soils. And he's like, man, he tested 5.4. Number 4 soil, 4th week into bloom, 5.4, and struggling to keep the pH up. And then all of this started when his well water ran out. He had to go into a rainwater situation. And ever since he's been to rainwater, he doesn't have the limestone in the water. So there's no buffering that's bringing it up.
Right.
And when you start at 8, and you bring it down with all your food, he doesn't add any Olympus Up because he doesn't need to. So there's zero buffering, and all the microbes and all the digestion and everything happening in the soil is creating these acidic soils.
So what if you brought that up to 7.3, 7.5 in your mix and then put it into the soil? Would it come back down again, or would you'd still be pooched, right? I mean, there's no
well,
good,
if you
good
bring
scenario.
you have to drop it below to where you have to bring it up with limestone.
I gotcha. So, but that rainwater probably, when you put the down in the rainwater, it drops the pH.
Oh, it does. But like I said, I mean, if he mixes up his whole nutrient package, it's 6.5 from
He's
his
right
8.
there.
And he's like, that's great, but then over 9 weeks of growth, shit's crashing down to 5.2.
So in that scenario, you would drop down so that you could use Olympus over some sort of dry amendment in the soil.
What we're going to play with right now is we're going to put, per 1,000 gallons, we're putting a quart of Olympus up in the 1,000-gallon cistern. We're getting the limestone back into the water. Then we're going to mix up the nutrients after 5 days of it being in there just dissolving. Then we'll mix it, see where we're at, and then he'll have the limestone back in. But I'm thinking that's going to be our key.
Is it possible that you'll put that limestone in and the pH won't go up? But it'll be a solider pH?
It might go up a little bit, but it'll probably drop.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, give it 4 to 5 days, let it react completely, and let's see how the pH stabilizes.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll keep you filled in on that one because that'll be interesting. I got a few growers that have issues with rainwater. I mean, I love rainwater, but it's non-reactive, so it doesn't have anything to bond to.
Aaron Tucker, Bob, I get so much out of these videos. Let's just wrap it up there for today. That's a good place to stop. We got like another 30 minutes or so to go. So we'll do that on Monday. I love you. I'll see you then. The OCG Fam Show. It's pretty good. It happens every day. It's the OCG Fam Show. See you tomorrow.